moods. That's why planets have a very important part in our spiritual makeup as well. So parts of our body actually relate to different planets. Different chakras relate to different planets as well. So we're wired up as a solar system. We're a solar system because our spirit is actually like a sun being, but it can't grow until it goes through all these measurements of emotions and energy, as it were. Okay? All right. So we'll look at that. Anyway, we better tie back into these dream aspects, okay? Yes, there's someone woke up. Okay, finally. We sort of dillied away from it last week because of a few things. So I'll just have a chat a little bit so we cover and dovetail this all into aspects with the dreams. So with your dreams, it's your soul giving you impressions through symbolism and anecdotes or, I don't know, poetic aspects about what has happened in your life or what's happening in your life, or it's giving you little keys into the future. Generally, the soul accesses a lot for the coming days. So if you get into dream interpretation, we're going to look at symbols and certain symbols or events that connect to that, which is the soul. So the soul is the astral body. The soul is your astral body. And it's like a very liquid kind of thing. You know, I know our physical body is like 70 to 90% liquid, depending on where you're sourcing your knowledge from. So the soul is working in those levels as well. So you can actually access knowledge and get keys to your coming days that are there just by simply spending more time awakening and interpreting your dreams. Does that make sense? It's incredible, but that's what I've experienced. And then when you wake up on the other side, that's even more fantastic, you know? And the key is actually realizing what's the difference between this world and that world, because you're there and you're doing it. You could be chased, you could be in a flying dream. You can fly in the astral planes. You can grow massively large, you can shrink down, because you know you're not subject to these laws. But once again, it's about knowing that particular area and knowing yourself. Now, with dream interpretation, for example, you may be going through, let's say, a challenging kind of a dream. Everyone's had them, obviously, which we call nightmares. It can happen when we're awake. We call them daymares. Okay, that went down well. I can still hear the aircon. Okay, great. All right, so nightmares, okay, so there's something that's going on in your life. You might have a very difficult person at work, or you might be having a challenge in your family or something like that. So that may appear as some kind of an ogre or a really ugly, disfigured, or some person. And it's interesting too, because when we try to fight those kind of beings, it's like they're not even harmed by us, because that's one of the keys it's showing you. You can't sort of physically hit or beat these. And sometimes if you move them away, you still have the recurring dream, as it were. So what that actual symbolizes is, or the symbolism of that, is actually someone in your life that is challenging you. And the thing is, the ultimate way to deal with it, to or remove it, as it were, to take it away, is to actually learn to love it, to just love it. And I know that some of these people are just so ugly, you know, terrible, and as their lives, it's terrible what they do. But if you actually send love out to it, it'll dissipate or move away. Generally, that works. Now, once again, dreams are very much subject to you. They're subject to you because of your own uniqueness, your own complexity, as it were. So symbolism will come through, and that's why we did cover a little bit about symbols and why they were important to learn what this, you know, the triangles mean, the 6-point star, the 5-point star. And once again, it's only a simple aspect. Also with dreams, you're not subject to time. You can, just the other night I was there, I was back about 12 or 13 years old. I was back down that timeline. And therefore, you may be having a recurring or a karmic experience, something that's happened before. And with that, take note. That's why it's important, your dreams. I can't stress this enough, how important your dreams are. You know, they're not just fantasies. That can be explained away as well, but we'll explain the actual importance of the dreams and the soul connection to the astral planes. That when you see that, if you're going down the timeline, there'll be a karmic event at a certain time that will recur again, it will test you again or challenge you again, okay? And it's set up that way. And you know, karma's quite an unusual thing. We just use the word karma, but once again, it's cause and effect. Something you've done is there that you need to sort of fix. Now, the more you work with this, the more apparently empowering and invigorating your dreams become, the more that you see. And I'm only just going for a very slight overview here today because of the amount of aspects that they can contain to. Now, I recommend if you do get into dreams more, there's books of symbology and books of dream work and dream therapy, that sort of thing. See, it's the same as like self-hypnosis, and that's what you're doing before you go to sleep. You're training your mind rather than just having frivolous thoughts, like calm down, I'm going to remember my dreams, I will remember my dreams, I'll remember my dreams. Strong, you know, and as you drift, go. And it's powerful because when you come back from your dream, we have what's called the twilight zone. It's like a filtering out. And it's very, very hard sometimes to remember some of those aspects, but sometimes they're so vivid, it's so important. It's like you don't even want to go to work that day. You're trying to work out this dream. You don't want to go to school. You don't want to I just need to focus on this, you know, it's really important. So there's obviously something that's powerful. We suggest in Hermetics and Alchemy is to keep a dream journal next to your bed. Have a dream journal. Or I had to record it because 3 o'clock in the morning, it's really hard to write, you know, stupid amounts of information. So either record it, something, you know, I saw this, I felt this. Play it back because it's you reflecting on you. And that's very important. It really is. I cannot stress that enough. So learning to engage with yourself for the right reasons. You know, it's vital in your life force and your life force emanations and your connection to your true self. Also, you're learning the keys to mastering your own time because in the astral planes, instead of us walking through space, we walk through time. Now, that may be a very big statement. And a lot of people may say that time is a mental construct. We created time. In a sense, yes, but time measures the soul. Time measures the soul. And if we didn't have time, it'd be all over the place in this world. Music needs time. Music needs timing. You got to get to a place at a certain time. You miss the event, you miss the train, you miss the plane, So time is very, very powerful. However, if you go into advanced fifth dimensional physics, not that we're doing that today, I'm just using it as an example, if you move and mess with time, you mess with gravity. If you mess with gravity, you mess with time. And this is the key to very, very advanced craft. Very advanced craft, as it were. What one would call starcraft, or things like that. And you basically have all this built into you. It's just a matter of waking it up, all right? So with dreams, you can actually use it as an opportunity to heal other people, heal yourself. As I'm sleeping, I'm healing. We used to sometimes, when we were doing a lot of work, and only getting 4 or 5 hours sleep, we place a command. In the next 4 hours, I'll get 8 hours sleep. And you wake up rested. Some of you, I'm not sure which or whatever, may be working on the other side. When you go into your dreams, you're actually doing work over there and you come back really tired or something like that. Now, that will, you know, I'm sure you'll know if you're doing that kind of thing because you may be working for the greater good of something or a situation. You may be asked to do things when you're in those astral planes. And that's why it's important to understand how planes and dimensions start to work. because they're subject to laws, but not exactly these laws that we have in this physical plane. You know, it's like the law of attraction, you know, the law of magnetism, those sorts of things. We have a law of gravity here. We have a law of gravity. You don't have to believe in it, but if we're on a 10-story building and we walk off the edge, I don't care if you don't believe in it, you're going down, all right? So it has an opposite law, and that is the law of lift, or the law of levity. And this is where birds and insects and all, they work with that too. And it's also to advanced magical applications, advanced Hermetic applications. If you understand how gravity works and lift, then you can access all these sorts of very, very interesting things as well. So therefore, in the astral plane, you can fly, you can grow, you can move, you can shift. It's up to you how you wake up in there. I'm just giving you the tools so that you can access these sorts of things. And that's part of what my journey is and my task is today. So thank you very much for that. How are we going? Good? Oh, that's all dropped out again. Excuse that, it seems to want to drop down there a lot more than normal. This is our fun, the moon, okay? So the moon has a magnetism to it as well. I'm just going to go over this with emotions. So obviously when we have a full moon, emotions are magnified. We've said this before with a lot of the law people and a lot of the law enforcement, nurses, medical, healing people and that. So obviously you have a lot more activity at the hospitals and at the other places because the moon magnetizes moods, okay? Emotional moods, moon moods. The moon magnifies moods. I'll write it there. That's better. Is that better? Yeah. Okay, cool. So you have this dance between our Earth, Gaia, and the moon. And there's this incredible dance, and also with the sun. So just a basic aspect here. So you have sun, moon, and Earth. So Gaia. So the moon goes under several names as well, as I move through that. Several names for the moon, obviously. You would call her Luna, lunar goddess, Artemis, Selena, Diana, depending on the culture. Same with our Earth. We generally go with Gaia, terra firma. Terra firma, people don't sort of seem to get that so much in the Latin aspect, but Gaia, okay, she's like the supernature goddess, all giving, all life. And then our sun aspect as well, which is Solar, Tiphereth, Amun-Ra, so many names that you can call on the Helios, names for these different ones. So many cultures have names for these particular planets. So they must have a massive influence or connection, as it were, to our world. And that's what's important. So when moon goes through certain cycles relevant to your birth chart, your birth sign, your numeric frequency that you come in on, you will have more enhanced dreams. You'll have more enhanced dreams. And also the way you sleep as well. Direction is important for dreams. Direction is important for dreams. Sometimes you'll find that you'll go somewhere else, you don't have any dreams. Or the way where you put your head, that placement of the head, relevant to yourself. And you can consult your own feng shui journals on that as well, or a dream diary. Dream dictionary. Yes, thank you. Well done. Thank you. Those sorts of things. You can find those sorts of things out about yourself because it's knowing about your magnetism, because we're very, very subtle with magnetism. I mean, the moon's pulling these tides in and out on the planet, so we're affected by that emotionally. And that's why we get to understand more about our emotions, our matrix, and how we pick up other people's emotions that we don't want to pick up, for example. Okay. Yes?
Why would it be only the full moon that affects people when the moon's actually out all the time and affecting tides?
Full moon.
Because we can see it? Because you have like your empty moon too,
Yeah, the new moon cycle, that's different. Okay, so I suppose the best way, it's a 28-day cycle, so it's a feminine cycle. We always just attribute the lunar aspect to the feminine and usually the sun to the masculine for simplicity, okay? So with the feminine, okay, so when the moon's maximizing, like this one we just had was very powerful. I think no one got out of here alive without some sort of emotional, kind of stuff going on. Just the other night as well, I only got it 2 nights ago. My daughter said, yeah, Dad, go out and check out the moon. I said, okay, no worries. And it was red and orange. It was really, really powerful, just coming up on the horizon. When it's full, it's got that green gold aspect. So it's a really good way to see auras, okay, the moon. So when it's full on the horizon, it's usually got the green gold, and then it goes right up as it's descending, it goes into that blue-violet corona auric field. Just look to the edge of it. It's the best way to see auras. It's really, that's how we learn. And then it just becomes really apparent when you just sort of look to the edge of people or things. You can just see the energy field, and there's different auras in that. But answering your question, with the new moon, it's a better time to plan, okay? Now, I'm absolutely certain, without a doubt, I've checked this out and I've studied a lot of things. When the moon is maxing, okay, what we call, waxing, maxing, whichever one you call it, and then there's waning, is sort of, all the plants start filling up with more moisture. Remember all your plants, and they got sap running through them? Okay, so it's the same with us too. It starts to max. A lot more activity starts to take place. So you can imagine that in nature, just the insect kingdoms, with, anything from bees to butterflies and things like this. It's all going to be working with seasons and cycles, which basically are the planets anyway. They sort of work with the seasons and cycles. And once again, don't trust me, just take my word for it. But as more moisture comes up, like these plants are getting better, higher quality, so much more activity, and then it wanes, it goes off. So the ancients, and not even like far back, but a lot of very advanced cultures and the older cultures than that of Europe, they knew when to harvest at the right time. They knew when to cut the timber. Did you know that like in places like Switzerland and Germany and Austria and southern chalets all through there, and even in Sweden, they got these timber buildings. They're over 300, 400, 500 years old. You can't burn that timber. It doesn't rot. It doesn't get termites. You know why? Because they cut it in harmony with the right moon cycles, and they knew exactly how to do it. And it doesn't warp. It doesn't split. Not like the way they just slaughter stuff today, So anyway, don't take my word for it. I know it because I've read it, and I just find this stuff absolutely fascinating. And also the best time to cut grass and lawns or trim your plants and everything is on a waning cycle. Get one of those lunar calendars. Thomas still does them. That's the ones that I learnt under, back in the 80s, way back when. It's just, you can get it. It's got all the planting cycles and the lunar cycles with the movement of the moon. They're very handy. Also, it's really good to see like your constellations, how they work, all your different constellations.
Can you actually charge your crystals from different...
Absolutely, which brings us neatly to our next segment. We'll be getting into the crystals, all right? Have we wrapped up the dreams pretty much there? I just want to make sure we've got that because it's a huge area to get into. But yes, charging crystals, okay, and particularly on your star sign, okay? So depending on the astrology that you follow, because there's different versions of astrology, all right? So, for example, if you're a Scorpio, you would use that sign. Okay, you'd cleanse it with good water, not the junk out of the taps. Oh, hang on. But you can re-bless that anyway. But you can cleanse the water, or even running water. So as the moon's coming in, let's say, for example, you're a Scorpio. So let's say if it's a Scorpio moon, it'd be much more, empowering for you. You can put it on your altar or your little whatever that you have there. Your little table, whatever. If you're a Libran or you're a Gemini or a Aries, Taurus, whatever, you use that for your advantage. So, and it's also stones that you'll be called to. Certain stones, and we've got so many new varieties of stones. They're fantastic. Whereas before it was basically just the garden variety of stones. Your base crystals, but they all work really, really well, and they all got their own attributes. People say, oh, that's all just rubbish. But this is where we get into high-end alchemy and science. The first lasers, they're ruby. That's what it is. It's not like it's a ruby. And even the stuff they use in DVD players, CD players, the remote controls, it's a fleck. It's just, they grow them, So because that combination of stone is intelligent.